Hey there, are you interested in selling clothes on eBay? Or maybe you're already selling clothes on eBay and you're wondering, is this even worth my time? Am I really going to make enough money doing this? Well, this is the show for you. Hey everyone, I am Prof Sales.
And I'm Karin.
She's the laughing girl beside me. And welcome to the Prof Sales channel. If you haven't been here before, we talk about reselling, we talk about being an entrepreneur, we talk about being in business for yourself and some other stuff.
And a little crazy stuff along the way. Today's show is being brought to you by... Bye. No, not really. But we bought these last night to try them, and we're sitting here cracking up. Oh, do I have to do that too?
Oh, that made a nice sound.
Mine...
Black cherry, and it says rebellious flavor that tastes so fresh you'll want to slap its face. I'm not making that up.
And mine's called Peru pineapple, but the funny thing is it says you're holding a fruit grenade filled with explosive flavor, open with care. How can one pass this up, right?
So here we go.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Whoa!
It's all right.
That's pretty gross.
So anyway, let's get right to the show topic. So as many of you know who watch this channel, I am a clothing seller. Reseller, I guess, would be a more accurate term, I guess, maybe. So, but I've been wondering recently about, and I've wondered about this before, is selling clothes on eBay worth it? Now, I don't really know what, you guys think is worth it. So I'm going to give you some examples here. I'm going to share with you a quick PowerPoint I made that will kind of illustrate what I'm talking about. And then you can make some decisions on your own about clothing and so on, because a lot of people who sell on a lot of people who sell on eBay, maybe YouTube as well, sell clothing on eBay. It's a very common thing to get started in. It's plentiful. I've had tremendous success selling it, but success is always variable. I mean, because you sell something doesn't mean you're necessarily successful. It comes down to, is it worth it to sell it? And that brings up a whole nother set of questions.
Well, the definition, like a lot of what we talk about, is subjective, right?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it's subjective. So I'm going to hit you guys up with some prof math, which we haven't done in a few shows. And we're also going to do some other things during the show too. We'll give you guys we'll fill you in on some other topics really quickly.
And we may even have a show and tell towards the end.
And we're also going to talk, we're going to answer some viewer questions because I am not going to be on Friday. I have a prior commitment, a volunteer commitment, and I will not be doing a show Friday. So this will be the only show for this week, unless maybe we do some one-off show.
Or I could hijack the channel again.
She could. Maybe Karin will come on and do a show or by herself. Whatever. Fine with me. So let's go to, I'm going to do the screen share here, and oops, I need to pull this up here first, I think. And I'm going to show you guys a PowerPoint I put together. We're going to walk through it. It's not going to take too long, but hopefully it'll make a little more sense.
Oh, I can help narrate, right?
Yes. So we will play this from the beginning. All right.
Is it worth selling clothes on eBay?
All right, we're gonna make some assumptions here.
Okay.
We're gonna assume that you can find an item to sell on eBay, which I think a lot of jeans fall in this category, but not all. Shoes are probably above this. But you can find an item that you can make on average $10 after your cost of goods and after the fees you pay to eBay, okay? So you've paid eBay, you've bought the item for X number of dollars, you've paid your fees to eBay and PayPal, and you're left with $10, okay? Now assume you want to make a full-time salary of, we'll say, $50,000 per year pre-tax. Why $50,000? Why $50,000, Karin? Do you know?
That's a great question. Sounds like a good number to me.
Well, it happens to be just a little bit higher than the median salary in the United States. So is $50,000 a lot of money? In some places it is a lot. In other places it's not so much. But it happens to be close to the median salary for an individual in the United States. So it seemed like a good number to pick.
Yes, you've done your homework.
And you can scale this based on where you live and your cost of living and all those good things. All right, so to hit that number, you would need to sell 5,000 items per year or 417 per month to meet this goal. All right, simple enough. Let's move on. How about you read the question?
How easy or hard is it to do this?
Well, you got to sell 14 items per day on average. Now, a lot of clothing resellers believe you can sell 1% per day of your inventory. Now, I'm going to tell you, I thought I could average 1% per day on jeans. I don't think that's going to be my average now. Do I think that's possible? Maybe, but maybe not at $10. Oh, we're having an issue with the PowerPoint. Oh, make sure. Let me know. Hold on one second, guys. Let me make sure this is looked like it was going out fine. Was anybody else not seeing the PowerPoint?
It might be because you went to full screen. What if we just
it should be full screen. Oh, show PowerPoint, cannot see. All right, let me go back. All right, let's try this again. Sorry, guys.
Take two.
Let's see if all right, let's try it this way. That's kind of weird why I wouldn't do that, but
we can see it now.
Let me know if you guys can see it now. Okay, if you can see the PowerPoint, all right, just let me know in the chat. Sorry about that, guys. A little technical difficulty there. It showed the PowerPoint for like 2 seconds. Huh, that's interesting. It should have kept showing it, but Google Hangouts is always, oh, now you can see it. Great. All right, so we're going to go back to it. Awesome. So again, $10 per item, 50,000 per year is your goal. You need to sell 5,000 items a year or 417 a month. How easy or hard is it to do this? Well, you got to sell 14 items per day. That means if you can average 1% per day, you would need to have right around 1,400 listings. Okay, so I think that 1% is a little high for $10 net average clothing items, but we're going to be optimistic with this, okay? Because a lot of people think that that is possible, and I don't know.
Well, and it fluctuates too, right? I think when we did our average, we tried to do a yearly average, but sometimes it's less than that,
right,
and sometimes it's more. So
right,
that's why everybody kind of congregates and agrees on that 1% number,
right,
as a general rule.
So what does that mean? Here's where we get into the nuts and bolts. That means you need to source 417 items per month.
Phew. Or
basically 100 items a week, 99. You also got to check them for quality.
Quality control.
You've got to photo them. You've got to list them. You're probably going to have to source more than 100, we found, because you still miss things in the store, right?
And weren't we bumping our numbers by like, what, 5%? Like an extra 5%, 5 to 10%?
We were finding like 5% were falling out, right?
Yeah.
Somewhere around there.
Yeah.
So you really need to probably buy 105, but we'll stay with 100 for the moment just to see what happens. All right, so we're trying to hit our goal, making 50K a year. You've got to buy 417 items a month, roughly 100 per week, and you got to check them all in, photo, and list it. Now, here comes the big questions. How long is that going to take? All right, now this is where it's going to get a little tricky, and people are probably going to agree or disagree, but I think if you're really good and you're niched down and you have lots of plentiful supply around you, I think you could source 100 items a week in approximately 8 hours. Now, what does that 8 hours include? Well, that includes driving.
Yep, travel time there and back for sure.
Right, and it includes the time in the store and to look, or yard sales, garage sales, whatever you're doing, to look through all those items. Because you've got to look through, more than 100 items. You're gonna have to look through 1,000 items, 2,000 items, who knows, right? Whether you're doing the bins, whether you're doing yard sales, doesn't matter. You're gonna have to go through a lot of different items to get that 100. The time to check each of those 100 items, I think you can do one every 30 seconds without too much trouble. It's moving on pretty good. That includes the time to pick it up, hold it under the light, look it over, put it back somewhere else to go to the next stage of the process, deal with any that are not good.
Remember, when you're sourcing also on that initial look, you're kind of doing some of your quality control right then and there in the moment anyway. So hopefully you're catching the crotch rot, the broken zipper, the pull, the hole, the whatever, the stain, you know, so that you're not getting back home and having to deal with that too often.
Right, exactly. Great point. So around 50 minutes to do that. Karin and I talked about these numbers earlier today.
And we've timed ourselves. I mean, we've literally timed ourselves before with a stopwatch.
The time to photo 100. Now, this is where you've really got to be fast, guys. 3 minutes per item. Now, remember, it depends on how many photos you're taking of an item, but you're probably going to take a minimum of 3. That would be the absolute bare minimum for most items. And you might take as many as 10 or even 12, in some cases, the max.
Well, and with clothing, that's a front, back, and a tag, because those are important, right?
Right.
For your bare minimums.
Right.
And like you said, we end up doing, with jeans in particular, we're doing at least 5.
Right. I think we can do jeans in 3 minutes. I've timed myself many times. I can do that.
I meant 5 shots. Sorry.
Oh, 5 shots. Right. And it depends on how many photos you're taking. 3 minutes per item is, not super hard once you kind of gotten the flow of it.
And you get into a groove. I mean, you're literally taking it from your to-do pile, you're doing it, and then you're putting it on to the next step. So we're not suggesting that you just fly through it and things are throwing all over the place, because if you concentrate too much on your time and doing it, it's not, for me, and this is where I wouldn't say we disagree, but maybe we get a little bumpy sometimes.
Right.
I'm more about the quality than the quantity. And so in regard to that, I'm probably a little bit of a lag on these times in particular, but I would much rather do it right the first time than have to get back and do it again.
Yes. And I think that you can probably list these items in 3.5 hours, and that's roughly one every 3 minutes. That's going to vary as well, but if you're niched down in the same area, I think it's not completely unreasonable to do it that quickly. And then the time to pack and ship, you're going to have to sell 100 items and pack, and people forget about that part. We figured roughly around 20 items per hour we could do. Now that includes printing off the manifest for the day, walking to wherever they are, pulling them, getting them back, sealing them up, putting on the labels, and taking them to the post office. In our case, we cannot have pickup at our house because our postal service is really random.
And I meant to say, with your listing, you have a great template for your jeans and your shoes. Right. So that saves time there too.
Sure.
So you just click the template, it auto fills in that little detail section, and then boom, you're
off.
off.
So these are some pretty reasonable estimates, guys, and you might be faster, slower, depends on what you're doing. Miscellaneous time. You're going to have to answer questions. You're going to have to deal with your accounting, order supplies, taxes, etc. A couple hours a week for all of that. It's going to average out. Total hours, approximately 24 and a half hours per week. We'll add 10% just for, and that gives you approximately 27 hours a week, or an hourly rate of $35.61 per hour. Now that sounds pretty good to me, right?
Not too bad.
That sounds pretty good to me, but we have forgotten probably a thing or two here. We've forgotten overhead. You're going to have expenses. You're going to have to get supplies. You're going to have a bin system. By the way, you're going to have to figure out where to put all this stuff, your 1,400 items in your house, which is a lot of items, right? You're going to have tax liability. Now, I am not a tax professional. Seek professional help. Many of us need professional help.
You said professional help.
But your tax liability could be as high as 30% if you're self-employed. That's not crazy to hear of. And it depends on a lot of factors. So now, and you figure that in plus your overhead expense, you might only be netting $30,000 per year from this business. That's roughly part-time hours. We go back, we're talking about 27 hours per week, right? So that's roughly a part-time job, right? If you figure 40. So you could only be you're netting, like you have a good hourly rate, but it's kind of on a part-time basis and part-time money, I think, by a lot of people. So what does that mean? Let me talk about one other strategy, though, the bin strategy, because I know some of you guys probably sell out of the bins. You think, but Prof, my cost of goods is lower and I can source a lot more items in a lot less time. I took an average of a $14 selling price with free first-class shipping and a cost of goods of 75 cents. And you're only going to net $7.78 per item, guys, if you do that, if you're a top-rated seller and you have all the discounts and so on. So your income estimate there is going to be even lower. It's instead of making $10 per item, you're going to make $7.78, which is 22% lower, which means, yeah, you're going to be able to source it faster. You know, we know like Tiffany can source a lot of items very quickly.
Yes.
But you're going to have to turn a lot more volume to get the same amount of money out of it. Not impossible, but it's kind of like you're always trying to figure out volume, you know, higher volume, lower profit versus less volume, more profit.
Right.
So that brings us to the end.
Well, the end of the PowerPoint.
The end of the
anyway.
PowerPoint. So is it worth it? And I'm going to say it really depends, like so many things in life, on your objectives, right?
Well, in your current state too. You know, we acknowledge that there are part-time resellers and full-time resellers.
Right.
A lot of folks have full-time jobs, so an extra bump of $30K is pretty sweet. Yeah.
Sure. But it's going to take you 27 hours a week to get it.
Right.
So you're not going to have a lot of time for another job.
Right.
But I don't think you want to end up creating a job for yourself. And that's the tricky part with clothing. And that's the tricky part we struggle with too. You could just end up like, I got to put in my hours. And it's not the type of job. I'm going to talk about this in a second about the amount of hours you put in. But I think you should seek other streams of revenue that maybe are more passive in nature, or maybe even going to earn more per hour worked. So let's go back to the stream. So here's the thing, guys. Is it worth it? I mean, that's the big $1 million question here. And it does depend on what you want out of it, but you can end up buying yourself a job. And this is not the type of job where if you put in hour after hour after hour, like you might say, but Prof, I can put in 70 hours a week. I'm a workaholic. I have no family. I don't care about anything else. All I do is work. Great. Good for you. That's awesome. But I think you're going to see even diminishing returns for every hour you put in. I don't think 35 hours a week, when you take it to 70, is necessarily going to 2x your income. And the reason is because you're not as effective in hour 70 as you were in hour 1. Nobody is. Nobody can just grind it out hour after hour and just be 100% effective, because we get tired. We make mistakes. We lose focus. Maybe we even lose passion for it. I just think that if you're trying to sell items and making a $10 net profit per item, even to make $50K a year is difficult. It's not simple. And by the way, I don't know how, show of hands in the virtual hands. This is a live chat, the live show, and there's a live chat going on, virtual hand raising here. How many of you guys are consistently listing 100 items a week? How many of you are sourcing 100 items a week? And by the way, that's not enough to get to this goal. If you want, you've got to get up to like 1,500 listings to even get there. So you've really got to source more than 100 items per week and list more than 100 items per week, because you've got to grow. This would just be to maintain what you had. If you're only buying and sourcing and listing 100 items per week, you're going to be selling some of those. So you're not going to be able to grow up to 1,400 right away, like, because at the end of 4 weeks, yeah, you've bought 400, but you've sold, 1% of that times 30. You've sold 30% of it. Maybe you've sold, maybe 30 of them, 32 of them. So you haven't been able to really grow 100 listings. You maybe only grown like 70 listings. So I think I don't want to like, Karen was she was so kind of like on the fence about this show topic. She's like, you don't want to come off as like you're telling people not to pursue a dream of selling clothing, or that it can't make money with it. You can. I do. I have. I will continue to do so. I'm not quitting selling clothing or anything like that. But it's kind of like some realization here, guys, that scaling this kind of business to a really large level is really hard.
Yep. By
yourself. I just don't know how high you can. Karen and I were talking about this today. And I asked her, I said, not that this is some magical number, but do we know anybody in the YouTube community or elsewhere who's solo and is selling enough to make $100,000 a year net income?
Yeah, without employees, just
without employees,
all by themselves, making that much money
off of clothing only, especially pre-owned clothing, which most of us sell. Most of us sell pre-owned that are watching the show, and a lot of us have. But I can't think of anyone. And by the way, that doesn't mean they're a failure or they're not doing well. But I mean, there's an income level Gary Vee says it's around 70,000, but there's an income level where you start to feel comfortable. Like the basic necessities of life, you can more than pay for. You can have a few nice things here and there. You don't have to worry about how you're going to pay the power bill next month. Gary Vee thinks it's at 70,000. I think for most of us, we could agree at 100,000. You can live most anywhere in the United States decently. You can, support yourself, surely, maybe not a whole family, but to net 100,000 per year, to net, not make. I mean, it probably requires 300,000 to make in gross in clothing, maybe 250. It depends on what you're selling. And I'm not saying it's not possible, because it is possible, but it's difficult for sure.
And we have friends that are doing it, but it's not one person. Tiffany has an army of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Yeah.
4 to 5 employees that are working with her, and she's 5,000 plus listings, right? 6,000.
Right. She's coming up close to 6,000.
Yeah. So it can be done. We're just saying one person all by themselves. When would you have time for anything else?
Yeah. And somebody said, if you're considering net, meaning after taxes, no, even pre-tax, I don't think there are, I'd be surprised if there's more than a handful of people. And they could be people out there we haven't even heard of. But when you just start doing the math on it, guys, when you start thinking about a bin strategy, a thrift store strategy, a yard sale strategy, estate sale strategy that revolve around clothing and the amount of time to do it, it gets very difficult to scale it up to that level. Even the $50,000 pre-tax level is no piece of cake. And this all came about because I was looking at my gene numbers for this year, for 2017, which are not great because we don't have the fourth quarter yet. In the fourth quarter, you'd always do a lot more business, but I was just kind of looking at what I was netting and what would happen. I'm like, what was I said? I said, what would happen if we sold 10,000 pair of jeans this year? We're not going to sell 10,000, by the way, full disclosure. It came out, we would still only net like $93,000. And I'm like, 10,000 jeans to sell is a huge number of jeans. That means we'd have to buy, I figured out we'd have to buy somewhere around like 13,000 this year. And I went, I don't even know how we would do that. That's over 200 pair a week, well over 200 pair a week. Plus we'd have to list them. Plus I don't know where the heck we'd put them. Our listing total would grow. It would more than double. We would have more than double what we have right now. And I went, so Karin, even if you and I were able to do that together and make $93,000 pre-tax between us, that's okay. But it's not like some huge salary for two people, right? Somebody says now they're depressed. Don't be depressed. I mean, I think you have to operate from a place of truth, though. Always, in reality. And I'm not putting on this video to say you shouldn't sell clothing. I think you should sell clothing. If you're brand new to eBay, especially,
it's a great place to start.
It's an amazing place to start because you can get in for so cheap. You can learn the platform. You can learn how to deliver great customer service. You can learn shipping, and you don't have to invest thousands and thousands of dollars like you would have to do with some other types of markets. But I think you also need to be realistic about it and realize that to scale up a clothing eBay business that is based on pre-owned clothing, and you going out and finding clothing one at a time is difficult. It's difficult. I don't think anybody would argue it's difficult. So going back to my example, to earn $100,000 a year, roughly, you would need to work 54, 55 hours a week, which is more than a full-time job, right? Not impossible, but theoretically you could do it, around, if you can find items that sell for $10. So I just want to throw it out there, guys. Again, I'm not saying all this to depress you or make you feel bad, because I don't think it is depressing. I think you have to operate from a position of just understanding what challenges are in front of you.
Right. And we try to keep it real, and we're not going to tell you just because you work harder, you're going to do better. It's not all about, and we talked about that again today, that it's not, oh, you're just not sourcing enough. And somebody earlier said that they're sourcing more than they're listing. stop shopping.
Stop sourcing.
Just stop. If that's truly the case, if you're buying more than you're putting up, you need to play catch up. And we purposefully sat in front of these buckets today because there's a couple hundred pair.
Yeah, about 150. Yeah.
There's shoes and
they're going
jeans
down
out there, and we need to get those listed. So if you're in that situation right now where I get that it's the fun part for a lot of folks is the shopping, the acquisition, the thrill of the hunt. But seriously, if you're shopping more, if you're bringing in more than you're listing, because remember, your sales are relative to the amount of listings that you get up. So if you're not even putting them up for sale, guess what? Nobody knows to buy them. So you're just getting you're slipping further and further behind.
Right.
So I think our goal, what are their takeaways from this?
Well, Folio asked an interesting question, and he said, how long would it take to get 100K a year listing 50 to 75 items a month? I have 10 years till I retire, so I have time. I don't think you'll ever get there. Because you're going to be selling more than 50 to 75 items per month. So you're actually losing listings. As your listing total goes up, you theoretically will be selling more and more, and you will not be gaining, is the point. Now, again, that's clothing and so on. Now, if you were selling really expensive items, that might be different. But if you're selling clothing, if you can only list 50 to 75 items per month, I don't know how you'd ever get to the point where you'd make 100K a year. I really don't. Because you're going to sell too many of them. You're going to sell through everything you list for that month and more. So then the next month, your sales will be even lower. If that makes sense. Given not completely a apples to apples comparison, because it depends on the time of year and seasonality and all that good stuff too. But yeah, you've got to be able to not only list enough to maintain what you're selling, but also grow to the point you need to be. Like for us, like we said, we would need to get up to around 2,700 listings to approach those numbers. And that's a lot. I mean, that is a lot. That is more than double what we have right now. So we'd have to just buy tremendous amounts. I mean, I think we're going to go back for another PayPal capital. Now, I don't think it would be enough. I mean, it would take a lot of money.
Well, and somebody put, as soon as I saw I'm sitting on, it got my attention. Should I list now or wait until closer to Christmas? You list it yesterday. I mean, we're coming full on into Q4.
Yep.
So do not you dare
list it now.
Wait until Christmas. No, do it now.
Don't wait.
No.
Hey, Jennifer had a question too. She said, why would you assume a lower selling point on clothing purchased from the bins? Are they lower quality in general? No, but the traditional bin strategy has been, Jennifer, that because clothing at the bins are so cheap, they're sold by the pound usually, $1.39 a pound we have here locally, and a lot of other places have prices somewhere around that. You can get several items for very low amounts, and because they don't weigh much, you can ship them first class, which saves you on that. But here's the thing, guys. Are you going to find home run items at the bins that you could sell for $50? Occasionally. Occasionally. Yes, every once in a while. But you're not going to find enough of them. You're not going to find enough. You're not going to find 100 of them a month to sell for $5,000. You're just not. You're not. So not in general. You're going to find a lot of items you can sell for a lot lower price and still make profit on because you paid so little for them. They don't cost much to ship, and they'll just sell, and they'll sell pretty quickly. But that means you got to go back and get another one, and go back and get another one, and go back and get another one. Like, to give an example, our friend Tiffany has to get hundreds of items per week to maintain her store. Hundreds of items per week, not per month, per week. Now, she's very good at it, and she's fast at it, but it's also taken her 15 years to get that good at it. So it's not like it was overnight and she was suddenly going in and could source 300 items in one day. So it's not the bin and the bin strategy in general tends to be geared around selling items for somewhere around 12 to maybe 16, 17, 18 bucks, not $25 or $30. Maybe there is a bin strategy for selling at that higher price point, but then you've got to be more selective in what you buy, which means you slow down your sourcing time. Takes you longer. Like it all comes back to the time part of this equation, right? How much time can you put into this for how long it'll take you to get money back out. So, you know, and it depends on where you, how much time do you want to trade for what amount of money? So let's see. There's other questions and comments, but
Kelly loves those fast nickels.
fast nickels.
Fast nickels.
All right. So
what are their takeaways? Just work smarter, not harder. We can't say that enough. And just be realistic about it. You know, before you quit your full-time job to go full-time on eBay,
Right.
make sure it makes sense for you. Make sure it's going to meet your needs. And we all have minimum bills that we have to pay.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah,
So.
and we have been diversifying for a while now.
Mm.
Karen has other ventures that she has where she earns income. I've been diversifying out my business for a while now in terms of passive forms of income and products that I've developed to sell, and you know, other opportunities like that. Like there's no, I just look at it like this too. Let's say you have a job and then you want to have an eBay business on the side. That's great, because that's two different revenue streams. If one dies off, you can maybe push up the other one and vice versa. But if you jump just into eBay right away and you want to sell clothes and make a full-time income at it, I wouldn't recommend that. I would recommend starting a business for sure and making that, but to do it in just clothing right off the bat, unless you have very minimal income needs, that's tough unless you got a lot of capital behind you. You got some spending and some savings saved up for, you know, 'cause it's going to take you a while to ramp this up in terms of this pre-owned clothing. The problem is with pre-owned clothing is that you're buying it one at a time usually, which means you can only look at it one at a time, which means you can only list it one at a time. It's just slow compared to a quantity approach or some other types of items that sell for more money. That doesn't do it. I think you should do it, as we mentioned before, but you have to understand that that's not a quick way to build a business. It's a slow and steady, you know, the tortoise gets the treat here. The tortoise doesn't get the treat. The turtle wins the race. What's the saying? I don't even know.
Slow and steady wins the race.
This is so terrible. I'm struggling. Krillin, thank you very much, sir.
Again,
we missed the super chat earlier. We were in the screen share. Absolutely, I really appreciate that. Krillin says, I think the issue is the $14. The target should be almost double. Too much time wasted on cheap items. Put 25 in the cap and the story changes. Yeah.
Agreed.
At $25, even like, for instance, it's a great point, because at our $25, when we sell jeans for that, even with free shipping and our normal cost, we make a little more than $10 per item.
Mm-hmm.
We still hit it. We hit it. But if you were getting a bins item that would sell for 25, where you were maybe only paying $1 or even less, you're making even more than that. And then that lowers the amount of items you got to sell, which lowers the number of items you got to list and lowers the number of items you got to pack and ship. And then your time equation gets better too, right? But most people are not going to be able to walk into the bins and pull out 100 items right off the bat they can sell for $25. I don't think most people are going to have that kind of knowledge. Like, it takes some time to get that kind of knowledge. And, you know, that's just the way it works. But absolutely agree that if you can push up that average sale price, this equation changes dramatically.
Mm-hmm.
For most people, the target is under $10 shipped. I would go out of business with that type of business model. Yeah, I don't know how that works either. That just, I mean, that business model, and I mean, I don't know, under 10 is really, really low, but you just don't make any profit on it hardly. I mean, and you're putting in time. That's the problem.
I think that people aren't valuing their own time. Like I can't tell you how many times we've gone on eBay, and especially over the summer, I think people get a little desperate when sales slow down and they're willing to let it go for anything that it'll go for, right? But how many times did we see, you know, a seemingly great pair of jeans go for what, $6, $7 free shipping?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, it's like, what?
So you're going to make $1? I mean, even if you got it for free, what does that value? Your time?
You'd be losing money if you sold for $7.
Yeah.
After your fees and your shipping costs, you'd lose money.
Right, but how many did we see where
Oh,
it was
yeah.
like next to nothing?
Yeah.
I mean,
People just dumping them.
You got to value your time as well. I mean, why do it if you're not going to make something off of it? And if you're only making $1 a pair of jeans, you're going to have to sell a lot of jeans.
Yeah. And then that means you got to list a lot. And, it just, you do the time equation on each one. You're not making any kind of hourly rate when you do that. Unknown Alias says, the high volume sales work because I'm buying it off for less than 50 cents each. I convert at 7% during most months. I mean, that's great if you can convert. When you say 7%, I'm assuming you mean 7% per day, but it still comes back to what's your net profit on each item, because even converting at a higher rate per day is dependent upon if you're only making 50 cents or $1 or even $2 on each item. You've got to turn a tremendous rate to make any kind of real income on them, sustainable income. So are you trying to be the lowest price on jeans, or do you have a pricing strategy? No, I'm not trying to be the lowest price. And we do have a strategy. Impossible for me to sell that items that cheap. My cost of goods is too high. I have no bin, so I'm stuck shopping retail thrift. Yeah, so yard time, you have to go a whole different way. You can't just... You can't just go in there and say like, I'm just going to buy everything that I can sell for $15 if you're paying $8. You're not making a lot of profit on it. They aren't. They try to justify by how much they pay at the bins. Yeah, the fashion outlook. That's a great point. There are people who will talk only about how great a deal they got. But really, you have to look at it on the back end and say, all right, you got it for a great price, but now what are you going to sell it for? And what are you going to make given the amount of time you put into it? I mean, that's the equation you've always got to figure out, the calculation for yourself. Mm-hmm. What about charging for shipping? What about it? I mean, you can charge for shipping, but, that does affect sell-through somewhat. Some people think you get a better deal with free shipping, but it's still, it's all going to be factored in one way or another. And what's your profit going to look like on the back end?
Mm-hmm. Hey, speaking of jeans, are we ready to transition to anything else?
Yes.
Okay, so speaking of jeans.
Don't knock over your drink.
I won't. Although it wouldn't be the worst thing if I didn't drink any more of that. Anyway, so I've been on a whirlwind tour, as some of you may know. I've been here and there and everywhere, and had the pleasure of spending some time with Lauren in Minnesota. And then as soon as I got back from that trip, I went to the beach with a good friend of mine. And I've sort of jumped on the not so much pay for my trip as I go mentality, but I definitely try to source wherever I'm at.
Right.
And we're going to do a little show and tell because Jason loves that part so much. But I found myself, and Lauren has been a great help for us in the wild when we find a new higher end brand that we're not familiar with to help, authenticate it.
Yes.
If we're worried that it's not legit. But I found myself in the same position at this beach Goodwill. And I called Jason, and we actually did a FaceTime in the middle of the store because one of his pet peeves are true religions. And you actually...
Why is that a pet peeve? I don't think it's a pet peeve.
It's a pet peeve because we seldom buy them because we can seldom find real ones. I think the last pair, you highlighted a pair.
Or they're just not selling for a lot. Some don't sell for much.
A couple shows ago. Their current state of financial affairs might change that.
It might change that. That's true. They're filing for bankruptcy.
Yeah. How they come out of that is still to be known, whatever. So I get him on the FaceTime, and it's a thing because and then people are walking around. But I found a couple of pair of True Religions, and I bought both of them. He told me not to buy this pair in my hand, actually, but I bought it anyway. And this is why. Watch his face. He loves it when I do this. But if I was without technology, all I would have is my brand knowledge, right? And if I authenticated these and I knew that they were real, then I would just get them and I wouldn't be able to compare comps or whatever. So a couple shows ago, we highlighted a pair that was, I think we joked that it was True Sloth or something because the little Buddha guy looked like a what do you call it? Jabba the Hutt, for lack of better. Yeah. But these are some nice little... You like these flat pockety ones, and you want.
I don't think I've even looked at these, have I?
No, on the phone you looked at them and I couldn't find the other pair that
I
you told me
cannot
to get.
verify that these are real or not yet.
Yes, you can. On the
I
phone.
can't. I haven't looked at them.
He looked at them on the phone and he said that they were real.
I looked at them on the phone, but it's like it's not the same as being in person.
Look, do something. You could look at them right now.
All right.
So, and then I found these big stars, which are his favorites.
They're not
right?
my favorite.
Well, you love them. Every
I
time
like
I
them, but
find them, you
yes.
say get them.
Well,
But these were so cool
Star
because
routines.
they're all. Can you see the little speckledies there?
Yeah.
Yeah. So all up and down the leg, they're, for lack of better, distressed. There's like a real jean word for that. But I got those two. They were so cool. And on my brand knowledge again, FootJoy, which makes an awesome golf shoe, is on our list of brands to buy. And I just happen to, beach towns are. You're making a scrunchy face.
They look legit.
Of course
From
they
everything
do.
I've seen so far.
That's why I bought them.
I'll keep looking.
So FootJoy, I found these really cool loafers, and I knew when I saw them, I'm going to try to get it so
Down.
you guys can see it.
Go down and back. You're too.
I want them to see the FJ.
Oh.
All right, so in there, yeah.
FJ. What do you got against J?
So anyway, when I saw that, I knew that it was FootJoy, and I knew it was one of the, but I've never seen this type of driver or loafer, so I got them, and a pair of these just sold for 50 plus shipping, so I grabbed them, and they're absolutely gorgeous.
They are nice.
If I wore men's shoes, I might even wear these, but I don't, so I won't. And then I went to the second store. I only went to two, and God bless my friend who came with me because she actually helped me source, and it was so adorable. It was like it harkened back to when I first learned how to do all this. But then I found these women's golf shoes, and we find some pretty rough ones.
Yeah.
How's that?
Yeah, it looks good. People can see it.
So, but they're pristine. There's like one little mark that I think I can clean up.
Yeah, they're pretty good. They're good shape.
But
No
they're good. So no matter what, that'll be good. So haha, I snuck in a show and tell for you guys that like to see the show and tell. And it looks like the True Religions passed the in-person test.
Looks like
too.
it. Yeah, they look legit to me.
And I never find them. I never find Miss Me's except that one time I found like 5 or 6 all in one store.
I found like 10.
Yeah.
That was crazy.
But these True Religions, that particular store, it was bizarro because they had like 6 of them, and I ended up leaving most of them there, but I took 2 home with me, so that was cool. Oh, and another thing, when I was with Lauren, look, Lauren, I even have it with me. So I keep everything I find in pockets, and when I was in Minneapolis...
These are in great shape.
Aren't they awesome? They're gorgeous. So I found $4 in the pocket of a pair of silvers. So not only did I buy those silvers because I figured they were good luck, but I added that to my pile of cash.
Found money.
Yes, it's my coveted pile. So.
All right. So a couple other programming notes here too, guys. I wanted to fill you guys in on. I'll do one and then you can do one.
Okay.
So I've got some cool collaborative stuff coming up. There's a really cool video that's being made. I don't want to tell you any more about it than that.
Just say that.
I'm
excited about it. I'm like over the moon about what we're working on next week.
Yeah. And I'll just say this. It involves other people too. All right. I'm not going to say any more than that.
The people in your neighborhood. Oh, that's kind of fitting. And it has dual entendre. Yeah, you'll know it. You'll know it when it happens, and it's very cool.
Coming out. That'll be coming down the road just in a couple weeks or so. So we'll tell you more about that when we can. I thought you were going to tell about something else.
I have so much to talk about. So source when you travel. Make the most of it when you're out and about.
Good point.
And if your stuff won't fit in your suitcase, leave your old stuff behind. But I thought, every now and then we haven't talked about things that we use. And I was going to show, I had this great idea that I would share some of the things that we use to clean around here. And I'm like, oh, the white, what is this called? Magic
eraser.
Yeah, this magic eraser. But look, we use them so much. Like, this isn't even what they're supposed to look like.
Those are some bad shape magic erasers.
I highly recommend these for everything. They'll take the yuck off of a white tennis shoe. We use them on jeans if there's any kind of mark. But if you haven't invested in magic erasers, do so, because they are absolutely the bomb. We need to buy more, please.
We do. Magic erasers are the bomb. All right, so it's question and answer time. So if you guys submit a question or a comment on one of the videos here on the channel, you may get selected for Q&A, which would normally be on Friday, but we're not doing a show Friday, so we're going to do it today. So these are some recent questions and so on. So first up is
Dun, 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 dun.
From Eileen Clausen,
Oh.
who says, have you ever done a video showing how to do flat lay photography? If so, could you direct me? If not, would you consider it? I have a terrible time getting flat lay right. That's a great question, Eileen. I don't think we've done one specifically on flat lay, but we've done videos on, shooting photos of jeans, which we do flat lay. And you're right, flat lay is a little different than other types, and you've definitely got to take a little bit of time to get it to look right. Some people don't like it, but I think for items like jeans, it works really well.
Yes, agreed.
Would you agree?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so great question, Eileen. Thank you very much for that. Next up is going to be a question from Agnes. Let me share it first. From Agnes Mai, is that? I'm not sure I'm saying that correct, but Karen, go right ahead.
Okay. Yes, I can't read that. Just read it. I really can't. I can't see it from here.
Yes. The whole situation is crazy. And she's talking about how to listing jeans and sizing. The whole situation is crazy. 3 pairs of pants, actual size will be different from different brands, and how you have a waist size on pants that doesn't come up anywhere near the actual waist. Those waistbands on the pants you just measured hit somewhere in the hips area. It might be a 26-inch waist if it went up the high. Maybe we should call it a waistband size. So she is talking about a waistbands, or measuring the waistbands of jeans, and how sometimes they're very different from what is inside the jean. We've recommended this from day one, and eBay has a guide on measuring jeans, and if they have a guide on it, then they should be supporting that method, right?
Yep.
Laying the waistband down, making sure to give it a little pull. That was for you, Mark. A little tug to the side of the waist, and then measure across the back waistband. Double that measurement and put that as the waist measurement, even if inside says something different. Is that perfect? No, because of the way the rise sets, if it sits lower or higher, is going to change the way they're going to fit and where people wear them.
Especially if the inside says something different. Because you can, and this is going to mess you all up a little bit, but eBay has their guidelines, right?
Right.
But if you want to get into the minutia and get technical, sorry, folks, but every jean brand, retailer, maker of said denim has different waist measurements, different crotch. Their value of where it starts and where it ends is different too. So when in doubt, use eBay's guidelines and definitely provide the actual measurements that you're doing in the moment.
Yes, absolutely.
CYA, cover your butt.
Next up is a question from Cap Fantasy, who says, I like the idea that money could be available if I need it, but I don't want to take out a loan until I have to. Would I be able to apply from my phone on the fly if I stumbled on a good idea? I hate to borrow and pay back money until I need it, if you understand what I mean. Now, thanks for that question, Cap Fantasy. He's talking about how we took out recently a working capital loan from PayPal. I don't know that you can apply from your phone. I suppose you could if you went to the PayPal website and applied.
Not on the app.
But I'm not sure. For the mobile app, I don't think so in the moment. And by the way, you would only have the money in your PayPal account, so you would need to pay for it with PayPal, wherever you're buying it from. Unless, because I did it and transferred it to my bank, but that still took like a business day. So you wouldn't exactly have it in the moment. You would have to wait probably a day or two to get it, depending on, bank transfer times. But I don't think you can do it on your phone. So I would probably wait and do that at home, but great question. Next up is a question from, let's see here, Orlando Thrifter, who asks, how about auditing inventory on a regular basis? Sometimes eBay's jumbled up the pictures from one listing to another, or maybe you let things sit in drafts or unsolds too long, and they got magically lost. I take one inventory location every few days and audit its contents. If it's hiding and not listed, it isn't making money. That is actually a kind of a genius idea there, Orlando Thrifter. So thank you very much for that comment. So if I understand Thrifter's comment, he or she goes in every few days and audits one location in their inventory, not their whole inventory, but one location. That way they're always rotating through it, I guess, on a monthly or yearly basis, whatever it is. That way it's not such a massive amount of inventory you have to overhaul. It's not like you have to go inventory your whole 1,000 items or 2,000 all at once. You're doing like a smaller section. I think that's actually a brilliant idea, and I might even incorporate that. So that makes a lot of sense to me. You just got to make, you got to set a schedule, make sure you rotate through your entire inventory once or twice per year, whatever your time is, but you could do just a part at once. And that way it's not like you're having to do so much that it's just kind of, this big, long time suck.
But we're not going to do that. We keep promising inventory. Now that I'm back out of town, we have.
She's back in town.
Inventory is going to happen.
She's back.
And we're going to bring you guys along because that's
for a while it was like, she's gone.
She's gone.
You never get something. Hollow Notes, whoever it was. I'm not going to try to sing that because.
Yeah. But anyway, yeah. So where do we just go there? So yeah, we need to do inventory and we need to take everybody with us and just get it done. I know you don't want to.
Agreed. Okay.
Aren't you guys so excited? You're going to do inventory with us.
Natasha asked, for a seller that's been selling for a while with about 200 listings, what do you recommend in reference to starting a spreadsheet? Well, as some of you know, I do have a spreadsheet that I sell, but you actually don't need to start with that, Natasha. You could start, as I replied to you in the comment, just very basically with a tab that shows what you bought, when, and for how much. And if you want to add other things in there, like what type of item it is, like a category, or what store you got it, you could do that too. And then you need another area for when you sell things, what date you sold it, what it was, and how much did you sell it for. And those are the basics. And you can eventually incorporate in other things like how much did you pay in fees? What about your business expenses? But you don't really need all those things right away. You could start with just a very simple version of what I just told you and build on it from there. And like I said, I have a version as well that I sell that's in the description of this video for $15. And it does that and some other things as well. But you certainly don't have to start with that. You can start with just something very basic and just go from there. So good question.
Well, and as you sell more, one of the things that we don't recommend people do is dial it down where you're knowing exactly how much fees you're paying per item. It's kind of a time suck. I think really all you need is your bottom line. I mean, it's good. You kind of get a flow where you're saying, okay, it's what, like 7, I can probably much bank on 7%, 10%, for fees, everything.
Yeah, it's actually about 13.
But that's with
right.
Are you doing shipping in that or just the?
No, that's the fees.
Okay.
eBay and PayPal.
13, but it's 13%. Who's going to do the math at 13% on the fly?
Well, apparently eBay and PayPal are.
Well, anyway, but so don't make yourself crazy with your spreadsheet. What is it? How much did I pay for it? When did I get it? Because you'll want to know how long you're sitting on it, and then you can make it grow from there. If you're spreadsheet savvy at all, or even if you're not, it's sort of an in the moment as you're learning kind of thing, because you'll see, well, oh, it would be good for me to know. And that's how you build your spreadsheet. And that's how you learn and grow, is that, maybe it would be good to know.
I took far more things off of that spreadsheet than I've ever had than I have on it now.
Yeah, please don't even look at his spread. No, I'm just kidding. But he did, like, we, over the last couple of years,
yeah.
He has done the math, and that's why, for folks that are new, that's why we often joke about Prof math, because if it's trackable, if it's dividable, multipliable, addable, whateverable, he's done it.
Electrifying. What was it from Greece? Grease lightning, electrifying.
Yeah, it's tantalizing.
No, that's not what they said.
But that's a whole. I went to a garden and they said not to tantalize the wild animals. Like, I've never read that before. What does that? What does that even
mean? Tantalize. Anyway.
But yeah, so if it's ever been done, he's done it math wise, and that's why you've even dialed it back, because you've discovered.
Because there were certain things I didn't need.
You don't need to know all the things. You just don't.
Someone asked, when you sell similar, you're using your free listings right. So if you have 250 items a basic store and you really relist them, there are fees for everything you list after that. Yes. Basically the way it works is, you list, if you come into a month with something listed and then you list things, all those listings counts. If you come in a month with 100 listings, that counts towards your store cap. If you list another 150 and you have that's it. You're at the cap for that month. So I think I answered your question, but I'm not sure I totally understood it, but hopefully that worked. How are you tracking mileage following the IRS guidelines? We use Mile IQ.
Mile IQ.
Yeah, and it's just a GPS app that anytime, it tracks wherever we go, because I always have my phone with me. And that way, I can always go back in and categorize any drives for business. And a lot of I kind of tend to take all my drives, make them business related. I'll do something while I'm out for them, so I can at least, have some of that deduction. But it works really well. You can go in and just, track the mileage and just put in, this was a business trip, this wasn't. And it'll even remember certain things too. It'll be like, oh, every time I go to Goodwill, it's business. Every time I go to Goodwill, it's business. So there's never going to be a time I'm just going to go, oh, I'm just going to hang out in Goodwill and not source. Nope, not true. What am I drinking? It's called Bai, B-A-I, and this one is black cherry. And it's pretty good, but I think it's giving me a headache.
Yeah.
Right now. Are you getting a headache? I'm getting a headache.
I don't like it. I think I said that pretty early on. My Peru pineapple, my hand grenade in a can or whatever.
Yeah.
Sorry, just being honest.
Yeah.
But isn't it, don't you swipe, it gives a whole new meaning to swipe right or swipe left, right? Because it's that easy to categorize your drives, right?
Yeah, and it'll just, and you can say, hey, do you want it to auto categorize this drive forever as whatever? And you can do that. You can say, oh, this is always sourcing when I go here. And that way, every time it comes up, it knows. And you don't have to go in and do it again, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, Joe, you missed it earlier. We sang the Bye, Bye, Bye song.
Why track each item? We got time for another question or two. Sure. Why track each item? If your cost per item is between 50 cents to $3, why track it? Monthly totals on cost versus sales fee minus fees isn't good enough. I think you're asking a question about maybe the spreadsheet and what to keep track of, Lizzie.
Or just what to keep, like why give each thing a line item.
Yeah.
You could do that, but.
Yeah, well, the thing is this, at some point you have to show, what you bought, how many items you bought, not even how many items. Let me back up. For accounting purposes, you need an inventory at the beginning of the year. What you have, an inventory is considered an asset. It's not a cost. So if you have 50 items sitting over a bin you've bought for inventory, and you're going to sell those items, that's an asset of the business. You need to have that for your accounting purposes and tax purposes. Then at the end of the year, you have to have another one. So you've got to figure out what you started with, what you bought and sold throughout the year, and then what you ended with. And that's part of your accounting needs and part of your needs for your tax preparation and so on. So however you want to track that, you can do it. I mean, you can do it any way you want. There's no right or wrong answer. I just think that like a software solution makes a ton of sense, because as long as you put in the right data and you have it set up correctly, it's going to do what you expect it to do. It's not going to suddenly forget to subtract, that 7 minus 4 is not 3. It's not going to forget that. So,
well, and I think if all, and maybe I don't understand the question, but if all you're keeping track of is how much money you spent and how much money you make and how much money are your fees, you're like, don't you have an inventory system already in place? And if you do, then it has a line item for it. So why not incorporate those things? I mean, it's an easy, natural fit, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And you kind of want to know too, going back to the topic of the show, it's not so much a, hey, I made money this month. I made $500. Yes. But it took me 125 hours to do it. Well, that's $4 an hour. Maybe that wasn't worth it. So you need to be thinking about not just did you make money, did you lose money, but what did it take to do it? How much are you going to, if you want to make $1,000 next month, how are you going to do it? What's it going to require in terms of inventory? What's it going to require in terms of listing? Speaking of that too, that topic, Karin just reminded me, I've started using Trello to organize my week and so on and month and some other things. And I was thinking about if you guys are, if you've got any input on this video topic, I would like to go through and kind of share that with you guys. It wouldn't be strictly reselling related, obviously, but that's going to be talked about. But I was thinking about doing a quick video on that, maybe a 15 or 20 minute video where I just kind of walk through what I'm using it for and see if you find any value in it too. I downloaded this app many months ago and then for whatever reason didn't use it. And now I'm going to go back to it. But because I decided it fit my needs. I watched a video on it, like somebody used it a different way and said, that kind of makes sense for what I'm doing. So if you guys are interested in that, leave me a comment down below. Of course, you can say in the chat too, just kind of a way to kind of organize your week, a way to organize your day, a way to kind of keep track of everything all in one place so you don't have 15 different lists and notebooks and everything else. And I don't know. I'm starting to find some value in it, but I just started using it. So I need to get just a little further down the road, but I'm thinking I'll do a video on that.
Okay.
Anything else from you there, Trixie?
No, I think I promised to quality control some jeans and clean some shoes today, didn't
Yeah,
I?
I'm going to put her to work, and we're going to do some work. So we're going to go list some things and get it done.
Get her done.
All right, guys. Well, remember, no Friday show this week, so we will not see you on a Friday. But leave me a comment or question down below, especially if it's your first time watching. I'd like to hear from you and get your perspective. So please leave me a comment.
Yeah, and consider subscribing, because we do this crazy thing on a fairly regular basis. And we love our online family and the input and contributions that you guys make. Your comments after the fact in the video, on the video itself, are very important, because no question is a bad question. And I think if it comes into your mind, it might come into someone else's mind as well. So
Yep.
Smash that like button if you would.
There you go. Carnes, it wouldn't be a show without that.
I need a new voice, Adam. Send me a message.
Oh, thank you very much, Layden Miller, for that super chat. Really appreciate that. So that's awesome.
And on that note,
I guess we're going to call it a day. I mean, I guess it's a good time for it, right?
yeah, happy Monday, everybody. Get out there and kill it.
It's not Monday.
What is it?
It's Wednesday.
Happy Wednesday. This is what I get for being out of town way too much.
So, all right, guys. Well, take care. We'll see you real soon. I'm Prof Sales.
And I think I'm Karin. I might not be, but today I'm Karin.
Saying
Good sales to you.